Hello children, it's a great day and happy to have you all back once again. So today I'm back with our second lesson, current electricity. So our first lesson was dealing with stationary electric charges, that is electrostatics, right? So there the charges were at rest and those charges started moving now, and that is what is constituting electric current, and we are going to discuss about current electricity in this particular lesson. So when you are speaking about the history, we can see that there were two inventions which are considered to be the greatest inventions of all the times. So can you name them? Yes, wheel, and the another one was fire, right? So those two inventions were considered to be the greatest ones of all the times, as they made the man to be the civilized persons, right? So if we can add one more to the list, I'll definitely add electricity as a third one, because electricity becomes an inevitable part of our life. So if you have any disagreement with my statement, just imagine this hot summer without fan and air conditioner. So definitely you cannot imagine that even, right? Yes, that explains how much important current is for us, just like how the food and shelter are important to us. Okay, so today we are going to start this lesson and we are going to study about all the important aspects related to current electricity in this particular lesson. So in Tamil, before starting the lessons, what we used to do normally, we used to start it with the Kadavul Valthu, right? So in the same way, before starting this lesson, I want to thank all the scientists who had contributed a lot to this particular current electricity topic with their inventions. Okay, so here are those greatest scientists of all the times. So I'm not going to name them all in that particular order as it is given in the picture, because I want you to do that, want you to find out who is who. So here comes the names: Michael Faraday, Benjamin Franklin, Nikola Tesla, James Clerk Maxwell, Alessandro Volta, Ampere, Thomas Alva Edison, and finally Ohm. Okay, so the greatest scientist of all the periods, all the times, those were great, contributed a lot for electricity through their inventions. So let us thank them first before starting the lesson. Okay, so in today's session, what are the things we are going to discuss? First of all, we are going to get introduced to the lesson, right, the topic, and then we are going to see about today's recipe, that is going to be electric current. Yes, today's recipe is going to be electric current. So ready to taste that? Yes. So the next one is going to be current definition, and finally conventional current, drift velocity and mobility. So these are the topics for today, children. Okay, so we know about the electric charges and we have discussed about it in detail in the first lesson itself. So when those charges are at rest, we used to call them to be, that will come under the category of electrostatics, right? So when the charges start moving, they will constitute current electricity when the velocity is constant. That is, if those charges are moving with a constant velocity, they will constitute electric current. So current electricity dealing with moving charges with the constant velocity. So what if the charges are not moving with a constant velocity? So if the charges are moving with the variable velocity, they will get accelerated, and that they will be emitting out electromagnetic waves, and that will be our fifth lesson anyway. So second lesson we are going to discuss about current electricity, which deals with moving with charges with the constant velocity. Okay, children? Okay, have a look around you. Just look around you, just look at the things around you. You can see different things, right? So you can see the things made up of wood, you can see the things made up of metal, or maybe made up of plastic or rubber or whatever it is. So all these materials out of which the things around us are made up of, they will fall into one of the two categories: conductors or insulators, from the electricity point of view. So the substances or the objects which allow the electricity to pass through it, the materials which allow the electricity to pass through it, they will be called as conductors, and the materials which don't allow the electricity to pass through it, or electric charges to pass through it, will be called as insulators. But we may always wonder what makes this conductors to conduct and what makes this insulators to insulate. So one particular thing that is present in the conductors is not present in the insulators, and that is what is making the difference. So we are going to discuss what is that one particular thing that makes the difference. Okay, so we are going to the lesson straight away. So we know that all the things around us are made up of atoms anyway, right? And there is a sarcastic quote in physics even, do not trust atoms, they make up everything. Yes, they make up everything. So they make up everything around us. And when we are looking into the constituents of these atoms, so what are the different things which are present inside the atoms? We can see that electrons, protons and neutrons are present inside that. We know that protons and neutrons are comparatively heavier ones when comparing to the electrons. So these two are present inside the nucleus. So the electrons are lighter when compared to that of the protons and neutrons, and they are moving around the nucleus, right? So they are moving around the nucleus in particular orbits which are assigned to them. See, in your classroom, you can see that in a classroom you will be assigned a place and you will be expected to sit only in that place. In the same way, the electrons are assigned certain orbits, and those electrons the electrons can move only in that permitted orbits, right children? So they are moving in the permitted orbits, that is okay, but what makes them to stay inside this atom, that is what makes them to move around this nucleus, that may be a question arises in our mind. So actually speaking, always what makes you to stay inside the classroom, the same thing makes the electrons to stay inside the atoms too, right? So here we can see that there will be a force between the electrons and the positively charged nucleus all the time. So what may be that force then? I told you already, positively charged nucleus and negatively charged electrons. So that is nothing but the electrostatic force of attraction between the nucleus and the electrons. So that is what is making those electrons to stay inside the nucleus. See, this force of attraction is acting as a centripetal force, and that is what is making it to move in a orbit around the nucleus. Do you understand, children? So when you are speaking about this force, there is nothing but the Coulomb's force, we can understand. But when it is a Coulomb force, we know that when the force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance. So as the distance increases, automatically what happens to the force? Yes, force decreases. So here in this case we can see that when compared to the electrons present in the inner orbits, when you are comparing with the electron which is present in the outermost orbit, which is experiencing more force? Yes, the electrons in the inner orbit, right? This is just like your backbencher story. See, the students who is sitting in the last bench can move a little bit here and there at least, right? Because you know the reason. And what about the student in the first bench? He will be directly under the control of the teacher in the front, where he or she will be standing in the front and he cannot move a little bit even. But the electron, that is the person who is in the last bench, the backbencher, can move a little bit at least, right? The same thing happens over here. So here we can see that the electrons present in the outermost orbital is experiencing less electrostatic force of attraction. So it is moving with the less velocity also. Why it is moving with the less velocity? Because the electrons present in the innermost orbital have to move with a greater velocity to avoid falling into the electron nucleus. The same thing happens over here. So here, as it is at a greater distance, the risk of falling into the nucleus is less, so it can move with a lesser velocity. Do you understand, children? So these electrons which are present in the outermost orbital, we used to call this outermost orbital as valence cell, and the electrons which are present in this valence cell will be called as free electrons. Okay, children, so these free electrons are this one thing which is responsible for conductors to conduct, and that is missing over there in insulator, and that is why insulators are insulating. Because in the case of insulators, the outermost orbitals are almost filled, that is, they will be completely filled, and they will not be in need of any more electrons to undergo, that is, they will not undergo any chemical reactions readily. Even in the case you could have seen, right? So here in the same way, in the case of conductors, we can see that they have free electrons present in the outermost orbital, and those electrons are responsible for the conduction normally. Okay, children, so we always used to compare the electron motion with that of the planetary motion. How come? Very simple. See, just like I want you to recall the Kepler's laws which you have studied in your 11th standard. Do you remember? So in the case of Kepler's law, you would have you may remember that the planets are moving around the stars or sun, in the case of solar system the sun, in elliptical orbits. So we would have spoken about two different positions over there, perigee position and apogee position. So perigee position is a position where the planet will be at the nearest, that is, it will be at the very least distance to the star, that is, it will be at the nearest position to the star. And what about the apogee position then? It will be at the farthest distance from the given sun, right? So it's the same thing happens over there. So there also we can see that when it is in perigee position, it will be moving with the greater velocity, that is, the planet will be moving with the greater velocity. But when the planets are at the apogee position, we can see that they will be at a greater distance from the sun, so they can move with the less velocity. So this is similar to the idea what we have discussed in the case of electron motion also. So in one more way we can compare them both, that is, it was proved by Rutherford that most of the place, that is, we can see that the atom is completely empty space. Actually the atom have empty space more when compared to the matter covered up over there, present over there. Same thing is true with the solar system, with our solar system also. Why to speak about solar system? Even in our universe, nearly 99.99% we have only empty space when comparing to the heavenly bodies occupying the space. Okay children, so in one more way also we can compare the electron motion with that of the planetary motion in our solar system. So here we can see that other than the main particles which are present over there, we have a number of subatomic particles present there. In the same way in planet, that is in our solar system also, we have meteors, meteorites, asteroids, comets, everything present over there other than the main sun and planets and the satellites. Okay children, so always electron motion can be compared to the planetary motion too. So here I want you to recall, and I think you will agree why I told in the very first class, அண்டத்தில் உள்ளதை பிண்டத்திலும் உண்டு, பிண்டத்தில் உள்ளதை அண்டத்திலும் உண்டு. Yes. So okay, now we understand that conductors are having some excess electrons, right? So these excess electrons, that is excess electron in the sense the electrons present in the outermost orbital, free electrons. So these free electrons are responsible for the flow of current, I told you, right? So what are these free electrons? How they are free to move? So they are called free electrons not just because they are experiencing the least force with the nucleus, not just because of it. It is because of one more reason. Look at this one. So here, look at this one. You can see that the electron, we have 5 atoms which are present over here. So look at the first atom. You can see an electron moving over there. So you can see that second electron is moving to the second atom, then that free electron is moving to the second atom, then to the third one, then to the fourth, and then to the fifth one even. Isn't it or not? So it means that these free electrons are not restricted to move only in that particular atom alone. Okay, they are experiencing less force with the nucleus. So automatically what happens is, if we are supplying a little amount of energy, with the little amount of energy supplied to it, these free electrons can get released from the atom and it can move to the other atom even, and that is why they are called as free electrons. Do you understand children? So these free electrons are responsible for the movement of current, that is the flow of current in a conductor. Okay, they are responsible, but how come? So you can understand that if you can compare the movement of current, that is the flow of current, with the water current. So in most of the cases we can see that the current is normally compared to the water current normally. So I think that is why it was also called as water current normally. So look at the diagram in the left side. You can see that they are holding a pipe, right? And the pipe was, the both ends of the pipe are placed at the same height here. So that means that they are at the same height, then they are at the same pressure. So there is no water flow in the pipe. But look at the right side. So there one of the end is lowered actually. So when one of the end is lowered, we can see that water will be rushing from high potential, that is high pressure end to the lower pressure end. So the same thing happens over here. So the free electrons are present in the conductor, But these free electrons, actually what they are doing is they are moving in random directions. So they will be moving in random direction. So the movement of one particular electron will be cancelled by the movement of another electron, and as a result of it, the net current is going to be zero. After all, current is nothing but the flow of the electric charges, or in specific flow of electrons in one particular direction. So here these electrons are not moving in any particular direction at all. So they are not constituting any electric current. Okay, then how to produce electric current? We know some ideas now. We are going to put it together now. See, today's recipe is going to be electric current. So I'm going to tell you how to produce electric current. Anyway, we are not going to taste it, but we are going to know how to produce electric current. Okay, children. See, current is produced in different ways, as we know. We are producing it with the help of hydroelectric power. We are producing it with the help of solar power, with the help of biomass, even tidal energy, geothermal. So many other options are also available to us. So out of that all, we are producing the electric current by different means, different ways. So here all we are in need of to produce electric current are just two things. Let us go for the needed ingredients now. The first one is a copper wire, and the second one is a battery. So we can use any wire which is available at home if we are not provided with the copper wire. Okay, so take these two things, and the two ends of the copper wire has to be connected to the two ends, that is two electrodes of the given battery. So you can see that the current will be flowing. But how do you know that the current is flowing through the wire? Okay, here the voltage is going to be very less and we are not going to feel any shock at all, right? So that also can be done with the help of a small LED. We can use a LED to check it out whether current is flowing, or otherwise we can do one more thing. We can wind this wire over a small nail, and what we can do is we can connect it to the battery. When it is connected to the battery, we can see that this nail becomes electromagnet if the current is passing through it. But how we can check it out whether it is an electromagnet now? The given nail is an electromagnet now. It can be done by bringing a small amount of iron dust near to the nail. We can see that the iron nail will be attracting the iron dust over there. Okay, because the iron nail is not just iron nail anymore, it became a electromagnet. Okay, children. So a colorless, odorless and tasteless current is produced. So only thing, we cannot taste it with the help of fork and the knife as it is given over here. Okay, anyway, so current is produced now. So what we have done it over here, can you tell it to me? So we know that we had taken two things over there. We had taken a copper wire and we have taken a battery. Listen carefully. The copper wire which we have taken will be having free electrons present over there anyway, but those free electrons will be moving in the random direction, and what we are doing with the help of a battery is we are just producing a potential difference. We are connecting it to the ends of the copper wire, and there we are producing a potential difference, and that potential difference is what is driving these electrons in one particular direction. See, we could have come across so many people doing so many good things in our world, right? Maybe even during this corona issue, we have been witnessing great people of greater minds doing a greater service, right? We are staying at home safely, but we can see always some people are stepping forward, stepping out of their houses, and they are doing some volunteering works. But how all these works are done? See, all these works are done with the person to properly guide them, right? So unless and otherwise there is a leader to lead or a guide to guide, definitely all these things are not at all possible. So if there are 10 people in a group, there must be one person who is taking a lead and leading them and guiding them. So only then they will be having a coordination and everything can be successfully done, isn't it or not? Yes, the same thing happens over here. So all these electrons are moving in all the direction. So they are in need of one particular thing that is leading, or otherwise it has to be, all the electrons have to be directed in one particular direction. Only then current can be produced. So the same thing, just like how we got Vivekananda to guide, Swami Vivekananda to guide all the people towards one particular direction. This is just like what you have discussed as the polarization in your polar molecules and non-polar molecules. The same thing happens over here. So every person had all there is the persons in a group has to be polarized in one particular direction, right? So they have to be oriented in one particular direction. The same thing is happening over here. With the whole help of a developed potential difference, we are making those electrons to move in one particular direction, and that is how we are constituting the electric current. Okay children, so you may understand it even more better if you look at this particular thing. So here you can see that these electrons are moving in the random direction, isn't it or not? Yes, they are moving in random directions. Now what is happening is the right side becomes positive and the left side is negative. Now you can see that electrons are rushing towards the positive side. So when once the left side is turning to be a positive and right side is turning to be a negative, we can see that the electrons are rushing towards the left side. So the electrons are moving towards the positive of the battery all the time. So they are directed in one direction now, and they are constituting current now. You understand children? So just the free electrons alone cannot constitute current. Those free electrons have to be directed in one particular direction. For that we are in need of potential difference, and that is why I told you the needed ingredients for making current are a copper wire or a conductor and a battery to produce that potential difference. So same thing is explained over here also with the help of two different wires. One is a cool wire and the another one is hot one. Maybe in the case of hot wire, the agitation will be even more greater when comparing to the cool wire. Okay children, so I want you to summarize, recall whatever we have learned so far. So in the case of a conductor, the free electrons are available and they are responsible for the flow of current in a circuit, right? But those free electrons are moving in the random direction unless and otherwise they are given a proper potential difference. When the potential difference is maintained at both the ends, we can see that conductors will start conducting current. Okay children, so now I think you might have got a clear picture about what is the electric current. So electric current is nothing but the rate of flow of charges. Okay, so rate of flow of charges, whenever the word rate is used, you know that the word rate is nothing but, yes, with respect to time, isn't it? So when it is with respect to time, we will be calling it to be the rate. So it is I is equal to Q by T. So how many charges are passing through the given area, that is what is called as electric current. So suppose if the amount of charge that passes through the conductor is varying with the time, if it is not constant, it is not constant all the time, it may not be constant all the time. So in that case we can go for I average, and that is given by del Q by del T. So I average is given by del Q by del T, and sometimes the rate at which the charge flow also changes with the time. So in that case current also may change. So in that case we can go for instantaneous current. But what do you mean by instantaneous current? See, instantaneous is nothing but I think you must be familiar with the filter coffees. You might have heard about filter coffees. Earlier days what they were using was filter coffees. So if they have to drink coffee by 7 o'clock, they have to prepare the decoction by 5:30 at least, right? So only then they can drink coffee. But nowadays what we are drinking now is instant coffees. So instant, that is immediately we can go for it. So here the values will be varying anyway, but what will be that instant value? What will be that immediate value? That should be taken as instantaneous current, and I is taken as limit del T tends to 0, del Q by del T, and that is equal to dQ by dt. Okay children, so we can use any one of these three formulae depending upon how the current flows in that particular circuit. Okay, so the unit of current is electric current is ampere, as you all know, and it is denoted by capital A, and it was named after a great scientist, Ampere. Okay, so it is one of the 7 fundamental SI units, as you know. So it is a scalar quantity, and current has only magnitude, no direction. Even though it needs a direction to flow, we know here it is a scalar quantity, not a vector quantity. Okay children, so if you take the current and you know that it can be measured with the help of an ammeter. Yes, so we can measure the current with the help of an ammeter. And what is this 1 ampere is equal to? So 1 ampere is equal to 1 coulomb per second. Yes, so 1 coulomb per second. Suppose if you are 1 coulomb by 1 second. So if you take the time to be 1 second, if the time is taken as 1 second, automatically we know that 1 ampere is equal to 1 coulomb. So what is that 1 coulomb? So in order to make 1 coulomb of charge, we are in need of 6242 into 10 power 15 electrons. So see how much huge it is. So only if these much of electrons are crossing that cross-sectional area in 1 second, we can call the current flow to be 1 ampere. Can you understand, children? So think over, if these much of electrons have to cross that cross-sectional area within 1 second, then think about the speed of these electrons. So the electrons move with the velocity nearly equal to the velocity of light. That we have to understand. Okay, children, so that is about the definition, the formula, the unit of electric current. So we have a small example over here. Compute the current in the wire if a charge of 120 coulomb is flowing through a copper wire in 1 minute. So you are asked to find out what will be the current over there. Current is given by the formula Q by T, and Q is given as 120 and time is given as 1 minute. Convert into second. So it is 60 seconds now, and the final answer will be 2 ampere. Okay, children. So the next topic is going to be conventional current. So what do you mean by conventional current? See, normally speaking, we know that we used to take the current flow to be from positive to negative all the time. So this they have started following it. This is when they see, I think in the first lesson you may remember, we used to consider that the electric field lines starts from positive and ends in the negative, isn't it or not? So they have followed the same convention over here. So here also they have considered the current to be starting from positive and it gets ended at the negative terminal. But actually speaking, current flow is nothing but the flow of electrons, and the electrons over here are flowing from the negative terminal to the positive terminal. So even here you can see that the dots, blue colored dots, are representing the electrons here. They are always moving from negative to positive. So even though we are calling the current flow to be the flow of electrons, here the conventional current always flows from positive to negative, and that is always opposite to the direction of the flow of the electrons. Do you understand, children? Okay, so that is all about the conventional current. So next we can pass on to the very important topic, drift velocity. We can expect it in 2 marks, expect it in 2 marks or 3 marks. Okay, so we got studied about the motion of free electrons. So these free electrons are moving in all the directions and they are experiencing a electric field now. So we are setting a potential difference. So because of that, an electric field is established over there. So what happens to those electrons at that time? Will they move in a straight line? So we may expect it to move in a straight line. They will be moving in same direction, but not straight line actually. So that is clearly explained in this particular picture. So in this case, you can see that these electrons' paths is continuously changing. They are experiencing a random motion over here. What makes it to happen? Very simple, children. See, when you are speaking about the electron, free electron, as it comes out of an atom, the atom becomes a positively charged ions, right? So the free electrons are continuously disturbed or distracted or attracted or influenced by these positively charged ions, and that is the reason why we have the distraction in the path of the electrons over here. Okay, children, so you can see it in this diagram. So this is similar to what we have been experiencing in our day-to-day life. So you could have seen that we are getting distracted by different things. So even as a student, you will be experiencing so many distractions, right? But what is guiding you correctly in one particular direction all the time? Maybe teachers, or maybe parents, or maybe some well-wishers, some person who is guiding you in a proper direction, right? The same way here, these ions are also getting distracted just like you. But you can see this electric field which is acting is always making these electrons to move in that particular direction. Okay, so those electrons are always directed towards the positive terminal of the battery, and they are dragged or drifted or pulled towards the positive terminal of the battery, and the velocity with which it happens, the velocity with which these electrons are moving, are termed as drift velocity here. Do you understand, children? So drift velocity is nothing but the velocity with which free electrons are getting drifted towards the positive terminal of the battery. So here we are going to derive an expression for this drift velocity. So we know that it is experiencing a electric field, right? So it is under the influence of the electric field, so it experiences the force also. So what is the formula for the force? The electrons are experiencing a force. What is the formula for the force? Force is given by F is equal to ma by Newton's second law. So here we can take A to be equal to F by m. But we know that this F is nothing but E into E from the first lesson. That is actually F is equal to Q into E, but as we are dealing with the electrons here, we are replacing Q with the E, and it is E into E vector now. But why a minus sign over here? It is very simple. Here the electrons are getting drifted in the direction opposite to the direction of the electric field. You can see in the diagram the electric field is acting towards the left, but the electrons are drifted towards the right, and that is why we are having a minus sign over here. So A is equal to minus E by m. Now what is drift velocity? So drift velocity is nothing but acceleration into time taken. So what is this tau over here? So this tau is nothing but the mean time between two successive collisions. For example, if you consider three electrons, electron A, electron B and electron C, the A electron will collide with the B and then it will go and collide with the C. So in between these two successive collisions, it would have taken some time, right? So in the same way, each and every electron will take some time. So all these time taken have to be added up, and that has to be divided with the total number of electrons. That will give you the average time between two successive collisions, and that is what is represented as tau over here. So Vd is equal to E vector is equal to A vector into tau. So Vd vector is equal to, we know the value of A, substitute over here, it is minus E tau by m into E vector. So what is this E? Small e, charge of the electron, m, mass of the electron, and tau is average time between two successive collisions. So as these three values are constant, actually E and m are constant all the time, and tau is case constant here. Case constant in the sense it is constant with respect to this particular case. So totally we can take it to be mu, and Vd is equal to minus mu E. So this mu is another constant used over here. So automatically you can see that Vd is directly proportional to capital E. That means that when you are increasing the electric field, the drift velocity increases. We know that if you are increasing the electric field, automatically what happens over here? When you are increasing the electric field, the force is increasing because E is equal to F by Q and F is equal to QE. So obviously the force will be increased. So the force experienced by the electrons are increasing. So the electrons will be getting drifted with the more velocity. So that will result in more number of electrons in 1 second, and that will increase the electric current also. So increase in the electric field will increase the drift velocity, and that will increase the current also. Do you understand, children? So this mu is called as mobility of the electron and is defined as magnitude of drift velocity per unit electric field. See, mu is equal to modulus of Vd vector by modulus of E vector. So only from the formula we have derived it, and only from the that is formula we have given the definition also. It is defined as drift velocity per unit electric field. So Vd by E, and what will be the unit of it? It is meter square per volt per second. So how they have got it? See, Vd is drift velocity. So drift velocity, we are speaking about velocity, so automatically its unit is meter per second. And what about the unit of electric field? Volt per meter and Newton per coulomb. We have used volt per meter here. So it is meter square per volt per second. Okay, children, that is all about the expression for drift velocity. Okay, so far we have got introduced to the topic. We have discussed about electric current, and we have discussed about drift velocity also. So now we are going to discuss about a problem here. So if an electric field of magnitude 570 Newton per coulomb is applied in the copper wire, find the acceleration experienced by the electron. So we know the formula. We are asked to find out what is the acceleration here. So we know the force can be given by two formula, ma and also by E. That will give you a formula. A is equal to E by m. E is charge of electron, it is 9.1 into 10 power minus 31, and m is mass of the electron, it is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb is the charge, and m is 9.1 into 10 power minus 31 kilogram. So substitute the capital E 570. So that will give you the acceleration. Okay, what you have got here is acceleration. Can you tell me how will you find out the velocity of it from this? This gives the velocity of the acceleration of the electron. How will you find out the velocity? So velocity is just found by dividing it with the 1 second. So that is nothing but 1.001 into 10 power 14 meter per second. See the range, look into the range, it is in the order of 10 power 14 meter per second. It is compared to the velocity of light. I told you already it travels with the velocity of light, and it is what is proved. So this may make you to wonder how it happens, how everything happens within a fraction of seconds. See, actually speaking, while you are switching on the light, we can see that within a fraction of second the light is switching on, right? but the drift velocity is ranging only in the order of 0.1 meter per second. But actually this disturbance is traveling with the velocity of light, and that is why fraction of second we are seeing the bulb to be glowing. Okay, so this is you can understand it better if we can compare it with the what happened in a construction site. You could have seen there we have different techniques to change or transfer the bricks from one place to another place. So out of that one trick, you could have noticed it, a persons 4 or 5% will stand in a line with some gap in between them, and they will be throwing the bricks from one place to another place. In that case, you can see that there is no need for the actual movement of the persons itself, but they will be just throwing the bricks from one point to another point. Same thing happens over here. Just like how if you are disturbing a cycle in a cycle stand, every cycle is getting disturbed. So here the disturbance is passed. So that is what is propagating with the velocity of light, not the electron itself. Do you understand, children? And that is what is explaining how we are getting the electron's velocity to be nearly equal to the velocity of light. Okay, so we are going to move on to the last topic for today, common misconceptions. So what are the common misconceptions? Two misconceptions we are going to discuss. The first one is, it is a common misconception that battery is the source of electron. We used to think all the time that battery are the source of electrons, but that is not true. Battery are not the source of electron. As we have discussed already, we need two ingredients to make current, copper wire and a battery. Copper has electrons present in it all the time. What is done by the batteries? It is just providing the needed potential difference. Okay, children, so that is a common misconception. The second one is, don't say my mobile battery has no charge. Mobile is charging implies that the battery is receiving energy from the AC source, not electrons. We used to say it all the time, my mobile is charging, my mobile battery is charging. Charging in the sense it is not receiving electrons, it possesses electrons all the time, but what is happening over there is it is receiving energy from the AC source and it is not receiving electrons at all. Do you understand, children? So today we got introduced to the electricity topic, and we have discussed a few basic things related to that, and we have discussed about drift velocity, mobility, conventional current, and finally we have discussed about the two misconceptions also. I think it might be interesting today, right? Okay, so we used to conclude the class normally with the quote, and today I want to conclude it with the Tamil verse, right? Minnootangal minnootamagina. So that is going to be the heading of it. And what is minnootangal? It is nothing but your electric charge, and minnootam it is nothing but your electric current. And here we are going to use one more word, நேர்மின்வாய். நேர்மின்வாய் is nothing but anode, and எதிர்மின்வாய் is nothing but cathode. So நேர்மின்வாய் we are going to use it over here. So if you know the meaning of these three words, easily you can understand this particular verse. Okay, listen. Here we go for it. ஓய்ந்து கிடப்பதால் உயர்வில்லை என உணர்ந்து, ஓய்ந்து கிடப்பதால் உயர்வில்லை என உணர்ந்து, ஒடுங்கி இருந்த மின்னூட்டங்களும் ஓட்டமெடுத்தன கடத்தியிலை. ஒடுங்கி இருந்த மின்னூட்டங்களும் ஓட்டமெடுத்தன கடத்தியிலை. குறுக்கும் நெடுக்குமாய் கால்வலிக்க ஓடின, கனநேரம் கண்ணயராது தலை தெறிக்க ஓடின. குறுக்கும் நெடுக்குமாய் கால்வலிக்க ஓடின, கனநேரம் கண்ணயராது தலை தெறிக்க ஓடின. They have been speaking about the motion of electron in the random directions. I hope you understand. உணவில்லை, உறக்கமில்லை, உணர்விழந்து ஓடின. சிரிக்கவும் நேரமின்றி சிந்தையிழந்து ஓடின. நொடிகள் நாட்களாக, தினங்கள் திங்கள்களாக, தாம் ஓடியதன் பலனறிய ஆவல் கொண்டன. நொடிகள் நாட்களாக, தினங்கள் திங்கள்களாக, தாம் ஓடியதன் பலனறிய ஆவல் கொண்டன. எட்டி பார்த்தன அளவிடும் அம்மீட்டரை. எட்டி பார்த்தன அளவிடும் அம்மீட்டரை. மீட்டரின் முள்ளிலோ முக்கல் இல்லை முனகல் இல்லை. உழைப்பின் பயனிங்கே வெறும் சுழியா, கதறி அழுதன கண்ணீர் விட்டன. மீட்டரின் முள்ளிலோ முக்கல் இல்லை முனகல் இல்லை. உழைப்பின் பயனிங்கே வெறும் சுழியா, கதறி அழுதன கண்ணீர் விட்டன. எலக்ட்ரான்கள் விட்ட கண்ணீர் இதயத்தை தொட்டுவிட, பதறி எழுந்தன புரோட்டானும் நியூட்ரானும். எலக்ட்ரான்கள் விட்ட கண்ணீர் இதயத்தை தொட்டுவிட, பதறி எழுந்தன புரோட்டானும் நியூட்ரானும். காரணத்தை கேட்டறிந்து கண்ணீர் கசிய சிரித்தன. எப்பொழுதும் எமைச் சுற்றும் எமதருமை எலக்ட்ரான்களை, எப்பொழுதும் எமைச் சுற்றும் எமதருமை எலக்ட்ரான்களை இலக்கில்லா பயணம் என்றைக்கு முடியும்? வழிகாட்டி வேண்டுமுனை ஓர் திசையில் வழிநடத்த, இலக்கில்லா பயணம் என்றைக்கு முடியும்? வழிகாட்டி வேண்டுமுமை ஓர் திசையில் வழிநடத்த எனச் சொல்லி மின்புலத்தை அன்பாய் துணைக்கலைக்க, கைகள் கோர்த்தன கடத்தியும் மின்புலமும், கைகள் கோர்த்தன கடத்தியும் மின்புலமும், நேர்மின்வாய் நோக்கி நகர்ந்தன எலக்ட்ரான்களும், முட்கள் நகர்ந்தன முதல் முறையாய் அம்மீட்டரில், முட்கள் நகர்ந்தன முதல் முறையாய் அம்மீட்டரில், மகிழ்ந்து மலர்ந்தன மின்னூட்டங்களின் முகங்களும், மகிழ்ந்து மலர்ந்தன மின்னூட்டங்களின் முகங்களும். ஆம், மின்னூட்டங்கள் மின்னோட்டமாகின, மின்னூட்டங்கள் மின்னோட்டமாகின. இலக்கில்லா பயணம் வீண், லட்சியமில்லா வாழ்க்கை வீண், உணர்ந்து கொண்டன உலகுக்குணர்த்தின. இலக்கில்லா பயணம் வீண், லட்சியமில்லா வாழ்க்கை வீண், உணர்ந்து கொண்டன உலகுக்குணர்த்தின. Did you like it, children? So please understand, a life without aim is just like a journey without destination. Hitch your wagon to star, have a great aim and work restlessly towards it till you achieve it. Hope you like that Tamil verse, children. So if you like that really, please try to write English verse using physics concepts in your style and send it to me through the messages you used to send it in Niral's app. Maybe in the days to come, in upcoming videos, I will upload the ones which is worth sharing with your names. Give it a try, children. Thank you.